Descent into Darkness, Season 2, A Call of Cthulhu campaign. Welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign Season 2, Descent into Darkness. I'm Travis, I'll be your keeper tonight, and today our scene opens on the 1040 to Bolton, Massachusetts, where Johann Mueller sits in one of the chairs, across from a man who has just seated himself a moment before the train is scheduled to depart. So this guy, I describe him as wearing a hat with a broad brim. It looks like a fedora, except the brim is a little broader than the fedoras generally are, and it seems to be made of more of like a...
Is that Panama, I believe?
Yeah, right. And the material's not as stiff. It's almost like a cloth material. But yeah, he's a thin-looking fellow with those sort of hollow cheeks and prominent cheekbones, with a long nose and a dour turn to his mouth, and eyes a very light shade of blue they're kind of unsettling because they make the black of the irises sort of stand out. But he's sitting across from you and sort of staring at you plainly, and he says, "Good day, sir. How are you doing?"
Let's see. I'll kind of put my pipe between my teeth, and I'll start reaching in my coat like I'm looking for a lighter.
What are you actually looking for?
My 45. And I'll be like, "I'm doing fine, young man. And how are you doing today?"
I'm doing well.
I must confess, you seem to be familiar to me. I believe that was what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, last time, yeah.
Yeah.
But I cannot place where I have known you from.
Yeah, the phenomenon's kind of like, when you meet a person who looks like somebody else you've known in the past, but you haven't quite figured out who they look like that you knew in the past. Have you ever experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. But anyhow, sorry, what did you say again?
Yeah, but I'm afraid I don't know where it is I know you from.
Well, I live in Boston. Maybe you've seen me around. Are you traveling for business or pleasure?
I'll move my hand forward and grab my lighter and begin lighting my pipe. Business and pleasure are much the same, young man. I'll say between puffs.
This train terminates in Bolton. Is that where you're going, or somewhere further afield?
I'm going to Bolton, right?
Bolton's basically where you're gonna
get off,
get on another train that goes to Arkham, so you can go to Miskatonic.
No, I have plans to continue on down the line, on a different line.
That's good. I hear one can catch a train all the way up to Maine, if one desires. One of your advanced age might enjoy Maine. I hear that the area around Moosehead Lake is particularly green, verdant green, one might describe it. Is that where you're traveling to?
Unfortunately not. I'll begin putting my lighter back in my pocket.
Yeah, and the waters of Moosehead Lake are this wonderful shade of cerulean blue. Go ahead and make a power roll for me.
Okay. Where am I? Where are you, Johann?
Well, that's good that you couldn't find Johann.
There he is.
I couldn't find my NPC.
Power.
So yeah, this is an opposed roll.
Did it not roll? There it is. Oh, dang. Am I going all the way to Maine?
Yeah, so you find yourself...
Can you push power rolls?
You can't push an opposed roll, but you could spend luck.
I don't get that much.
Yeah, you'd have to spend it down to a critical. in fact.
Okay, yeah, I don't got that.
Yeah, so this notion of traveling to Maine just settles into your mind, and you just listen to this guy talk, and he keeps using these words with adjectives for the colors of the area up there, and that kind of has like a hypnotic effect. And then next thing, we'll close the scene there for now.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Wallace Andrews, you're leaving the Central Records.
Right.
And you had established that you were going to meet with Mr. Monroe at O'Lafferty's Cafe.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me a spot hidden roll as you leave.
Wow, we're rolling good tonight.
Let me use, can I luck that?
Yeah, you got a good spot hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He needs it for finding all them sicknesses and whatnot inside someone.
I just subtract that amount.
Yeah, the
from my
5.
luck. Mhm.
I'm envious of the amount of luck that he has.
I know.
I've gotten 3 game sessions worth of increases, and I still could barely afford 15.
Okay, so the route to O'Lafferty's means that you head out into the street, and then you hop onto a trolley, and you ride the trolley to another neighborhood where O'Lafferty's would be, and then you'd meet Mr. Monroe. But as you're leaving the Central Records, you see 2 men who are kind of, resting up against the wall there, suddenly start moving as you get to the street and you look over your shoulder. They perk up and start following you. And they are less than incognito, both in the way they look, because they don't look like they're wearing the attire of, the people going about their business here in downtown Boston. They have more of a working class look or a low class look, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they start following you.
Okay. So what, is it like busy out here? Is there a lot of people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, the hour before noon, so.
All right. And how far away is, would I have to get a taxi to get to O'Lafferty's?
You could do that.
Or can I walk it?
You can walk it. It'll take a little bit longer. Like the quickest way would be just, they have the trolleys that go down the center of the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to hop onto one of those, take it a few blocks, get off, and walk the rest of the way.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I'll do then. I'll just keep an eye on them from time to time.
Okay. Yeah, so the trolleys do make stops every now and then, but a lot of people will just run up alongside of it and hop on. So that's what you're able to do as you you grab one of the bars on the side of it and pull yourself up these steps, come in the center where there's places you can stand, like in a modern subway, but also places you can sit. And you kind of get in with the crowd there. And the 2 guys that were apparently following you do the same thing, although they kind of hang back. And at this stage, they're looking at you openly as well. And one of them smiles at you.
Oh, okay.
So you have a shorter, scrawnier guy, and then you have a rather average-looking dude. But give me another spot hidden. We'll make this a hard.
Do I recognize either of them?
No, not with your background.
Wow. Wow.
That's a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, it really doesn't want you to see things.
Yeah.
You can't push on criticals, huh?
On a fumble, yeah.
Yeah, fumble.
I lose them. They were just right there.
It's like that one episode of X-Files where the guy
Yeah.
hides in your blind spot.
Cerulean blue. Yeah.
You think they could possibly be a courier?
They could be.
They probably have a message or like a telegram for you.
Courier. Okay.
Yeah, that's why they're following you. Because he's smiling at you, and you miss the unfriendliness to the smile, right? So it looks like a friendly smile to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll just wonder why they didn't say something, and I'll sort of shoulder my way through the trolley to get to them.
They kind of look surprised at you approaching them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just get up to them and I'll say, "I saw you gentlemen looking at me. Did you have a message for me?"
Yeah, they're kind of shocked for a moment, and one of them's like,
Put my hand out, to shake.
Yeah.
Repeat of Newell.
Sorry, if I'd known you were trying to catch up with me, I wouldn't have hopped on the trolley. I'm not in that much of a hurry.
Yeah, so you see this momentary. They're usually people bolt or something. They got to do a little bit of running, but they're like the shorter one's like, yeah, Yeah, we're looking for you.
Got a message for you.
You're Mr. Andrews?
Yes, Dr. Andrews. Pleased to meet you, Mr.
He introduces himself as Mr. Doyle. Mr. Doyle. Yeah, we got a message for you, but we can't talk about it here. You want to hop off? We can just talk right over there by that newspaper stand. That'd work perfect.
Play that suspicious alleyway.
It's pertinent to what you're looking into.
Oh, okay. And how is it you know what I'm looking into?
We heard. You've been asking a lot of questions.
Ah, I see. So, what do I think about that?
I'd say now you have every right to be suspicious.
All right. So, like at this point, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now, how do they know about what I'm looking into? Right.
This is what you're thinking.
Yeah. All right. So they're pointing at a newspaper stand, and what does it look like around that area?
So there's not a lot of foot traffic there, and the guy who's operating the stand is like impossibly old.
Oh, okay.
Barely living.
All right. So
might be a mythos entity.
Yeah. All right. So I'll say no. I think we'll carry on the trolley.
Yeah, it's pretty important you get this message. We're not exactly asking here. And he hooks his thumb over at his partner, who's pulled some brass knuckles out from his jacket.
This reinforces my idea that he's actually a noir detective. Old Dr. Wallace.
Always got to get beat up
Yeah.
to finish the...
All right. So I guess I'll try to persuade him to.
Okay. So the one thing I forgot about persuade that I continue to forget is it takes some time. Well, we can still do it, but it just means you'll have to go along with what they want for a little while, and you'll get your role after some time of talking with them.
Okay.
But what is the goal? You're trying to persuade that, say, the questions you're asking are actually innocent?
Yeah. So like now that I understand, like it all falls together. Like I was hassling that doctor and being a little forceful with him. So I can sort of link this and that, these kind of guys have been sent to get me to stop asking questions. So what I'd want to do is persuade them that that the reason I'm asking questions is not what like anything they might think it is. That
Okay.
It's totally something related to the medical field, like questions about,
You don't know anything.
medical procedures and reports, and nothing to do with any sort of,
Okay. Yeah. They will listen to you, and so you can go ahead and give me that role.
Wait, actually, can I change my mind?
Yeah.
I want to persuade them that they should actually work for me. Can I do persuade and like, is there a way to add with credit rating? Like I have a high credit rating, so is there a way I could say instead of you,
Just smack him with a wad.
what if I were to pay you to not rough me up?
Yeah.
And tell me who asked you to rough me up.
Yeah, you can nothing is impossible. You just know that would make the chances of a successful outcome more unlikely. So it'd be more difficult. So I would say to get them to work for you would require an extreme success. So it'd be really difficult.
Oh, okay.
To bribe them off would, it can't get any easier than what it's at. So it'd give you a bonus die if you wanted to go with your original thing plus a bribe, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Go with the original idea. Try to persuade them.
But you could also do the bribe plus the work for me with a bonus die, but still at an extreme success.
No, I'll go with the first.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead and
Nice. Don't forget your bonus die. You might actually be better at that than.
good. So you got a 15 or 18.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
That is an extremist, or is that?
75.
All right. So yeah, you succeeded. So you achieved your goal of saying that you're innocent. Like your questions are innocent in
Yeah.
nature. You publish for a journal. You just wanted details on the autopsy processes, and you were just looking at the most recent autopsies in the last year,
Right.
particularly having to do with murders. And you know what? I really don't mean any harm. I can see this causes you guys some distress. Here's some money, all that sort of stuff, however you go about it.
Yeah.
And they look pretty pleased to accept your money. And they're like, well, I'm glad you understand how things work in Boston. That's good. That's good. Are you from around here?
No. Montana.
That's good. That's even better. When are you going back?
Very soon. As soon as I've gathered, as soon as I finish this article for the Medical Journal of Medical Questions
Stuff.
and Answer.
Medical Journal of Medical Questions and Answers. Let me write that down. It's going to go onto the Boston tour guide. Okay, so, he's like, hey, we're sorry for the trouble. We didn't mean to cause any alarm. Let's just not have your name come up again. All right? Can we make that agreement?
Yes.
You have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
And
Good
they
to
both
meet you, gentlemen.
hop off the trolley with one backwards glance. All right, so jumping over to Monroe and Whitmire, were you, if I remember right, at least Monroe, you were planning a quick jaunt to the Hermetic Order of Silver Twilight before you went on to meet...
Yes. Yeah. We had been, after hearing that Mueller was heading to Arkham, we were going to try to go to Arkham, but then, Whitmire reminded me that we have dinner and we wouldn't make it back in time. So instead, I'll spend today investigating at the Silver Order.
Okay. And you arrived there. You would have like maybe an hour there before you were due to meet Andrews for lunch for this at O'Lafferty's Cafe.
Okay.
And you are greeted by one of the attendants, and they offer to take your jacket and hat and all that sort of stuff. And are you heading straight up to the library?
Yeah.
Well, as you pass through the foyer there, you see Dr. Edward Call, like, just coming out, and his eyes light up when he sees you. And he's like, Mr. Monroe, I dare say, have you seen the good Dr. Andrews?
No, I'm afraid I haven't seen him recently. We were due to meet for lunch here in a little bit of time, but in the meantime, I was going to take the opportunity to peruse the library a little bit.
Oh, that's all good. I had some clippings that I think he would find most fascinating in strange matters, flying cows and the like. Could you pass them on to him? I think he'd like to read them.
Most certainly. Is there any message you'd like me to send along with it?
Yes. Tell him I am ready to go on an investigation, and he can reach me here. I'll be here from 12 to 6, and then I'm going to come back to the Hermetic Order Lodge where he can reach me there. I'll be here till about midnight, and then I'll be home again. That would be a great help.
Completely not grieving my my wife. Having a good jolly time.
But yeah, it's just an envelope where you can fill. It has a few clippings in it.
And I'll say, well, my interest tends to lead in these directions as well. Do you mind if I peruse those articles as well, or are they specifically to Dr.?
Oh, no. Go right ahead. I think as you are also a member of the SCU.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll find them fascinating. They're from a rag, pardon the parlance, called The Typo. And this author, he writes all kinds of things. He's been doing it for some 20 years. I think you'll find them quite illuminating. I believe everything he says. I dare say he's something of a seer, I think.
A seer?
Predicted the molasses flood last year.
Someone that I may have to get to know then. I appreciate your interest in this and sharing it with us.
Yep. And when you guys are hot on the trail, remember Dr. Edward Call.
Most certainly will, sir.
Call him up and have him tank some sanity loss.
Yep.
Doctor, we have a room we need you to walk into. Doctor, we have a book we need you to open.
Tell us the effects of this.
And good sir, if you truly do have an interest in these things, you must come and see me at my museum. I have many artifacts that you might find to your interest.
You have a museum?
Yes, and I've probably got some sort of like flyers or something like that I keep on my person all the time. So yeah, I'll pull one out and I'll hand it to him.
Hey, what was the name? What'd you settle on?
The New England Museum of the Occult.
Okay. Just like fascinating. I didn't know this was in Boston.
Yeah. Many people don't, which is why I try and advertise it every chance I get.
Are you open now?
I believe that we are.
I really have nothing to do. I was just going home to break up the scenery, so I'll pop over there and I'll let you know what I think of your collection straight away. Are you going to be here long?
Well, actually, if you have literally nothing to do, would you have an opportunity to perhaps point me in the direction in the library of a few certain tomes? There's a subject I've recently come across that has fascinated me.
Well, I'm not much of a library man, but I guess I could try to help. Yes, I do have nothing to do. I dare say.
Thought you were going to offer to give him a tour.
This could be pretty interesting. Yes, let's go up and read these clippings. I'm particularly interested to see what Dr. Andrews thinks about them.
Is Bat Boy amongst the clippings?
What?
Bat Boy? He was on the loose last I saw.
So yeah, I'll open it up and I'll kind of thumb through them as we're walking, and I'll at the same time I'll be absentmindedly talking at my museum. And
all right, so I'll share the first one with you. And this is a pretty old one. This is like from 1900, about the year 1900. So the title is Beantown Corruption Alliance by Gary Riggs. Today, the baptism of Congressman William Murrow's son was performed. In attendance, Francis Walsh, the Charleston crime lord, who was even named godfather to little William Murrow Jr. What is a criminal doing at a holy ceremony with a public servant? Also in attendance was Councilman Ellsworth, along with many decorated police officers, and who knows what else. Here we see the true corrupt power center of Boston. These cronies of capitalism, rubbing shoulders and shaking hands. Yet even these men are victims of the evolved reptile men who live in caves beneath the earth, who secretly have designed to supplant humanity and terraform our dear earth to be more hospitable to their biological needs. Am I speaking now in metaphor or in the literal truth? If you can't handle the truth, then by all means assume I am speaking metaphorically. But one day the truth will be revealed. Here I am, a free spirit, a divine wild being wishing to make love to all that lives in a mad erotic paradise. And all around me, that paradise is denied by fools who think it evil or dangerous. If the entire natural universe is vibrantly alive, then no being in it should be chained or fenced in. The realization of this is anarchy. It is the end of every attempt to order the world, and so opens up every possibility. Anarchism is as much to do with anarchy as biology has to do with the joy of living. Anarchism is the attempt to create a new order, not to supersede order. Its goal is self-rule, not no rule. Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask Whitmire if you were tagging along with Monroe, because I know what you planned to do was nighttime operations.
No, I wasn't
Okay.
gonna.
All right.
I wasn't gonna crash their lunch.
So that's one. So here's your next one. Headline: The Spectre of the Wilbur Theater by Gary Riggs. The Wilbur Theater is perhaps the handsomest of any Boston playhouse, but don't let the veneer fool you. A specter has been sighted in attendance, most often during Shakespearean recreations. Attendees who have seen the specter say that it walks from behind the stage and sits in the owner box. Is this truly the spirit of some deceased patron, or really the soul of a man crushed by the capitalistic trappings of modern society? Many of us know in the depth of our being that civilization is death. We know that if we are to fully live, we must be free of it. It is a dance of death, and we crave a dance of life. It is entirely possible that the shackles of society are strong enough to chain our immortal souls as they do the specter of Wilbur Theater. I shudder at the thought. And we'll do one more. Headline: Flying Cow Phenomenon Solved by Gary Riggs. Many of you have read the preposterous reporting of flying cows in rural Massachusetts. As men of science, and women too, yes, we cannot allow our minds to be taken by foolish fancies or dulled by the capitalistic sedation of the mind. Buy now, think later, they say. But we say, nay. We stand with hands interlocked, singing the joyous songs of freedom from the shackles of satanic government and the production lines of baubles that have no meaning. I report to you now, on extraordinary authority, that the flying cow sighting in the moonlit sky all around New England are none other than beings from another planet, perhaps even Planet X. They travel here to harvest minerals necessary for their survival, not to make knickknacks that fill endless shopping mart shelves and endless vacant mines. They are in harmony with the cosmic spaces in the natural world, and some say they breed freely with each other, having no understanding of unnecessary mating rituals. To them I say, welcome. My home is a place of love, but beware the almighty dollar, also known as the almighty caller. So, this guy's, as you're glancing through those, he's kind of like rocking on his toes, like waiting for you to react, basically.
So I'll respond in kind of a diplomatic fashion. I'll say these are some very interesting articles that we have here, although there seems to be not quite as much about the occult as I'm used to seeing in these. Some of the general ideas are, of course, invoking of serious thought.
Well, it's because the occult is fiction, and this is not.
Yes, that's, you see Mr. Riggs there. He claims to be a scientist.
Yeah.
He even impels us to be scientists, too.
Yes. But the occult itself has grounds in science. I mean, it was the science before science existed, and so that is where the occult has, relevance in these days as well.
I dare say an explanation will be required, Mr. Monroe. I thought the occult and the sciences were very separate.
Quite to the contrary. Before we understood what science was, the occult, the mystical nature of nature itself, was harnessed through rituals of the occult, chewing up plants and putting them on wounds and invoking the spirits, where now we see antibiotics and astringents.
Oh, yes, quite right. Quite right. Oh, here we are, the library. What are we looking for again?
Well, perhaps you've heard of this cult of the starry wisdom. I recently stumbled across an article that mentioned them, and it piqued my curiosity, with it being, a cult that has been fairly recent. And in the New England area, I felt that if I could find some information on it, that it would make a good addition to my museum.
Oh, well, nothing comes to mind about that cult. I do have 15 years worth of editions of the typo. I can glean through the pages and see if he mentioned them at all.
That would be most useful. I appreciate your fervor in this matter.
Well, yes, nothing secret escapes Mr. Riggs.
I can see that you're quite an astute studier.
All right, Mr. Monroe, what else were you hoping to capture here or investigate here?
I was kind of hoping to get my hands on the where did that sidebar go? No. The Malleus Maleficarum. There we go.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, kind of go through that. See if I can glean anything new from it.
Yeah. Did you want to look at the chapter that John Scott was curious about, or were you just going to browse it?
I'll start there, and then if there's nothing specific to what I'm looking into, then I'll kind of start scanning the rest. I know I've only got about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
Actually reading the original edition of the Malleus Maleficarum at all requires a Latin skill roll.
Yeah. It's a hard Latin skill roll, right?
I think so.
Yeah, hard Latin skill.
Yeah. Or that's your we'll just do a regular one for reading, for doing a proper translation, since it's not like the Google Translate where you just type it in and you're getting the most direct one. You're actually trying to figure out if you got the right meaning for that particular word usage. So that's the one that requires the hard. The reading of it would just be a regular.
Okay. So did I double click that, didn't I?
Nice.
So yeah, it would be the first one.
Okay.
I have a hard time switching back and forth between Fantasy Grounds and Roll20.
I do it too.
So it'd be that first one, which I guess would be an extreme success, wouldn't it?
So you accidentally translated appropriately.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Yeah, this one's pretty long and it's not pertinent to the investigation, but I will share it with you.
This is some extracurricular
Yeah, it gives up maybe something for your character to bounce off of as far as internal monologuing go. But this is part 2, chapter 9 of the Malleus Maleficarum. I'll just let you know what the title is. It's how devils may enter the human body and the head without doing any hurt when they cause such metamorphosis by means of prestidigitation.
Uh-oh.
So, as I described, the Malleus Maleficarum is all these prescriptions on how to deal with witches, and they're kind of set up like catechisms. Like, you have a question for the chapter, and then the whole body is the answer to that question.
Okay.
How can you stop the most powerful spell, though? Prestidigitation.
Although I think it would be, if you don't desire to read the whole thing, to read the last paragraph, because it's kind of funny.
Where is that handout?
It's MM Part 2, Chapter 9.
MM Part 2, Chapter 9.
Well, let's let you peruse that, and we'll see what Whitmire's gone off to do after you left Mr. Monroe's house. What are you up to on the streets of Boston today, Mr. Whitmire?
Breaking back into Monroe's house.
So what I'd like to do is try and see if I can find that, or not find, but see if I can catch that car following me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What kind of ideas do you have for tracking it down?
Well, I
Or just hoping that it...
assume from last time.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
What's
go ahead,
that?
John.
I was saying that last time I know that I had gotten not the, I don't know the model, but it'd be pretty easy for me to point out if I see it again. So I'd like to go around to some of the places that are on my list of investigation areas. Not actually go into them, just go around them, see if I can see this car.
You're baiting.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. So, are you going to go back over to Charleston and sort of cruise around that area?
Yeah, I'll start, that's where that detective's house was, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll start back over there and see if I can see that vehicle anywhere.
Okay, yeah, you got to cross the Charles River to get over to that part of town. And so you're crossing that bridge. And you have your own vehicle, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a spot hidden as you come to that bridge, getting ready to go into Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you do see, you're kind of keeping an eye out. I'm not entirely sure if you actually had a rearview mirror at this point, but your head's on a swivel, and you catch that old foreign car. Pretty sure it's the same one somewhere behind you, a few cars down.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, do they have, I don't know if they have like street lights or anything at this point.
Street lamps? Yeah. They're not really burning at the moment because it's...
No, street, like
Stop sign.
Stop
Yeah.
lights.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I don't...
traffic lights.
I think the major intersections would have a person.
Right. There'd be a traffic cop out there. So yeah, you have a combination of that, and we'll say, just for the sake of not to dwell on it too long, that you have the same always stop rules in place that we do now. So if there's no light, then you go whoever has right away.
All right, yeah, because my idea is to try and get to an area where pretty much only one car would be able to go at a time, and then try and take a corner and then cut down an alley and kind of back around.
Okay.
See if I can get back behind them and just to see what they do. I don't know what if you would want like a combination, like navigate and something else.
In this particular case, I'll allow you to do navigation. I was going to throw like a drive roll in there, but you're not really doing anything tricky in what you were describing. You were just using the layout of the town to your advantage and your knowledge of it. So navigation will work for me. Very nice. So extreme success on that. So yeah, you do exactly what your goal was. You have many opportunities where you're the only car that's going to go through the intersection, and he'll be paused up, and you loop down some alleys, and you come back around to where you're actually behind him, at a certain point. And once you're behind him, you get that sense by seeing the way the operator's driving his vehicle that they're looking for something, like they'll pull up to a curb and stop for a moment, and you see the shadowy shape of somebody, craning their neck around, although you can't really make out features or details at the distance I'm placing you at. So what did you want to do next?
So, I don't know if they have it, but is there anything that, like a license plate or anything that would identify who a vehicle's owned?
Yeah, I'm pretty
at
sure.
this point. All right. Yeah, so I mean that's one of the things that I want to try and do is like if they're sitting pulled over to a curb for a while, maybe like park, a block back or at the end of the block away from them and see if I can, go down the sidewalk and try and get a view of that license plate.
Yeah, so it's while you're in the process of doing that, you've parked your car momentarily and you're walking along the sidewalk that I'm going to need a luck roll from you.
But I haven't rebuilt all my luck yet.
Of this I am acutely aware.
Oh, damn.
6. It's not quite. I think it's 96 and up is the fumble, right?
Spend some luck, John, to maybe you can make it.
So can I try and push that? If I fail, then I'm pretty obvious that the driver sees me.
Let me look that up real quick.
Trying to take down their license information.
With a luck roll, you might choke on a feather if you fail a push.
Yeah. No, I probably shouldn't push though.
John, I think we are dooming this party.
I'll
with
do
our luck.
what any good what Bostonite would do in this situation, and I will pull out my shotgun.
Pushing your luck. I think I might.
Yeah, I shouldn't though.
With a 29, you're almost certainly going to fail. You sure you want to do?
Yeah,
I might have to change
No,
it because you might not be able to actually push a luck roll, but I'll allow it this time because it works in my favor. So
no, I don't want to push it. It's way too low.
You're learning, John, that when the game master says, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Yeah, but
then you shouldn't.
You can counter that logic by saying,
I would like to just go to the library.
I would like to flee the situation.
No, so
But
what happens when you're walking up to get the plate? I'll even allow that you get to where you see the plate, and it's pretty easy actually. You don't even necessarily have to write it down. We'll say the plate number is like 4 digits, and they're all numbers at this stage, so it's not difficult to remember.
Okay.
And you're kind of repeating these 4 numbers in your head, but then you hear, like a deep voice that sends a chill down your spine because you know who it belongs to. But it's like, Jimmy, is that you? You got a lot of nerve showing your face around here. And you turn around and you see Frank Malone, which is the guy's bootleg liquor you dumped before you split from Boston.
Mm.
And he's flanked by a couple of bruisers. What's your move?
They got brass knuckles.
All right. So, yeah, I'll pretty obvious from the back. They're just like, shoulders kind of tighten up and slowly turn around and then try to relax as I try to I'll try to go into like a fast talk like, "Hey Frank, it's good to see you. I was actually just back in town. I was trying to figure out if you were in the same spot, right? Coming to see you."
It took you like a year to do that, Jimmy? Old witty Jimmy, they call you.
Well, I had to lay low, I had to get out of here. I had a lot of heat on me. I didn't want to bring the police down on you, because I was just looking out for your best interests.
Relax, Jimmy. I believe you. But people have been asking about you.
Oh yeah, they hear that I'm back in town? Who's been asking? What have they been saying?
Friend of mine, he said he wanted to talk to you in circumstances outside of when he initially met you. So I'm going to need to ask a favor of you, and I think you owe me one.
Yeah, Frank, no problem. Whatever you need.
Let's just go have a talk with this fellow. Why don't you come with me?
Down this suspicious alleyway.
And get in my car that has some candy. I'll follow him. Not like I have a choice.
Well, you could bolt.
Eh,
Car's over
Let's see
there.
where
It's
this
running.
goes.
You're going to go with him?
yeah. I'll see where this goes.
All right. So, Jimmy, what have you been up to these last few months?
Was just trying to get back on my feet. I spent some time out in Peru. No one's looking for me out there, right? There's no law out there. So, but nothing beats being back home, right? How about you, Frank? I know that I had to dump that last shipment, but it's almost like they knew, right? So,
In a way, it's your fault, Frank.
how have you been doing?
I've been doing good. We're making a little more money than we were last time, despite, our runners dropping shipments every now and then. But hey, really, it doesn't mean anything. It happens. But yeah, so he makes small talk with you for a little while. And you guys just walk on foot to like a bakery, basically. And you walk inside, and it's just one of those front businesses that has no patrons. And you have another chill go down your spine when you walk inside there, and you see Sergeant Logan Terry just seated at a table. And he has a big, broad grin on his face when he sees your face. All right, Mr. Whitmire, we'll leave you there standing in that bakery to think about Sergeant Logan Terry and his broad smile as you enter. And we'll pop back over to Johan. So, Johan, this effect, whatever it may be, is a pretty insidious sort of effect on you because it doesn't feel like you're being compelled from the outside to do something. It's implanting it into your mind in a way. So it's more like he had a good idea, but you were the one who made the decision in your mind. You know what? Yeah, that does sound an awful lot nicer than being in, Boston. But anyhow, I'll give you a chance to respond. So he's been like kind of intoning with this, verdant green, cerulean blue, that sort of stuff, all these adjective-laden descriptions of this area in Maine called Moosehead Lake.
All right. So I'm going to Moosehead Lake, right? Based on this, the previous roll.
Well, we'll have to play and find out. But you have it in your head that, yeah, that's actually a better idea.
This Moosehead Lake, I've never heard of it.
Yes, it's a nice place for seniors such as yourself to while away the time now.
I have been rather fatigued and aching as of late.
Mr. Mueller, you're going to realize that perhaps you don't want to go to Moosehead Lake and think, I should head back to whatever it was I was doing or wherever I was going. But all I'm giving you is some time to think about what it is that you're doing. You see, I represent a consortium with certain interests in Boston, and I think it would be better if you did not return. Better for you and for the interests I represent.
Yes, all too often these days I find myself not focusing on me. I am too old to be running around with these youngins, searching for the dark occult artifacts and ghosts in some haunted house. Perhaps you are right.
Well, that is good to hear. So, I will wish you a good day. And he stands, giving you a moment to say anything else if you wish.
Oh, no, I'll tip my hat at him and, good day, young man.
And he does the same to you. And he just walks down the middle, of the train car towards the door separating two cars. Goes through, and then he turns around and looks through the glass, one last look at you before he walks further on out of sight. Okay, so actually, by the time you get to Bolton, actually, first I need to know what your intelligence is.
I think it's an 80, 70.
Yeah. So you will be afforded a couple of power rolls to try to overcome this before you actually even make it to your connection.
Okay.
So you just have to succeed at a hard power roll.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
All right.
And you got 2 shots at that.
Here's the first one. That's a fumble, ain't it?
It is, yeah. But you don't. Yeah, in fact, we'll go ahead and advance it. You'll actually be on some train that's going more north than the one you were connecting on. So we'll see how your second roll goes.
That one's kind of close. That would really suck, though. Yeah, I'm just going to have to let that one fail. Now, as long as I continue on my route, I'm still abiding by it.
Yeah.
And he didn't say nothing about sending anything to my comrades, I believe, right? So I would still be working within
right. Yeah.
the rules that he laid down.
Yeah. Well, actually, long before that, the effects will wear off, and then you'll be your old normal Johann Mueller without that dictation. We were just trying to see how long it was going to stick with you.
So it's going to stay with me the whole duration?
No. It wears off. The problem is you caught a train that went up into New Hampshire, so you're nearing the border before you got in your head these beautiful descriptions of green
Perhaps
rolling
I will
hills and
be able to buy a house by a lake.
right. And then you're like, well, and then you're more, real fascination with the occult and these the stuff you've been looking into for the last few years comes in, and you're like, how did such mundane things such as a house at a nice place like Moosehead Lake get me diverted, right? And it's not you're not confused at all once you're out of it, like when it started and when it ended. So who you could attach the blame to, this strange man who said, and you remember everything he said, this consortium he represents with interests in Boston. So you're still on the train and you're going to be stuck there until it stops, unless you can think of some interesting commotion to create, get the train to stop and just start hoofing it wherever you are in northern Massachusetts.
Yeah, no, like Johann probably wouldn't be able to do that. I'll probably be heading to northern Massachusetts and then hopping on one back, but I would try to send a telegram at some point, most likely at the station.
Yeah, what you're able to do, your train pulls into a station just across the New Hampshire border that, as it gets into the early evening, and it stops there for, new arrivals to board, and at which point you can get off and send a telegram however you wish.
Yeah, I'll send it to Monroe, because he seems to be getting all my love letters these days.
Okay.
And it will read... what was it? A mutual friend insisted that I visit Moosehead Lake, and caught up in the fever, I found that I could not resist. Be careful, because this, Be careful, because his, excitement seems near infectious. And that will be the, or maybe not excitement, maybe insistence would be the better word.
Okay. So yeah,
I'll be back as soon as I am able to catch a train.
So luck. Well, actually, give me your luck roll. We'll see if there's one more heading back.
The way I've been rolling, the train will run me over.
Right.
Okay, regular. You son. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not a fumble, but you're stuck wherever you are until the trains start running again. But they do early in the morning.
So I'll buy a ticket for Arkham, wherever the university is. Yeah.
Yeah, they got one that goes straight from this line back to Arkham. But unfortunately, it won't be until the morning, which puts you in sort of a bind of being out in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire, waiting on a train. So I don't think there's anything else that you're going to be able to do, Monroe, given the time you had before you have to meet with Andrews. So if the two of you have nothing small that you might be able to do before we connect you guys together. But Dr. Edward Call, before you head off to do that, you mentioned what you're going to do next. He's like, I really am quite taken with you guys, and I dare say it would be a huge favor to me if you perhaps allowed me to come have lunch with you. I find you and Dr. Andrews to be both excellent conversationalists.
Well, I of course cannot, argue with your assessment of my conversational skills. I'm afraid that I must have to make this a rain check as far as a joint meeting with the three of us. I'm afraid I can't speak for Mr. Andrew or for Doctor.
Okay.
as far as whether or not to add additional company, but I will relay your insistence on meeting at a later date, and perhaps we can set up a dinner for later this week.
Oh, okay. He seemed very crestfallen, you know. How does Monroe feel about it when he kills puppies? Because the whole mood of the man is evident by just like sort of deflation in his stance and whatnot. But he's like, no, I understand. I beg your forgiveness.
No. I can see that it meant quite a bit to you. So let me try and make amends. Let me see that flyer that I gave you for my Curioso.
Okay.
And, I'll like pen something on the back that says, give a private tour of, the artifacts in the back, and then I'll sign my name.
So he brightens back up and he's like, oh, this is truly marvelous. I thank you.
Yes. And while I truly am apologetic for my inability to invite you to lunch today, I do wish to have lunch with you again soon.
Okay. And he's like, that would be very, very great. I look forward to it. Good day, sir.
Thank you very much.
And he tips his hat and heads a different direction. And you head over to O'Lafferty's, where I assume the good Dr. Andrews is already waiting for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, O'Lafferty's is a cafe that specializes in country fare, particularly, Irish country dishes. So you have a lot of like potato chowders and things of that nature.
I'll probably take whatever the standard fare is, then a cup of clam chowder, something like that. And
New England clam chowder.
Literally.
the white or the red?
Yeah, it's all pretty tasty. That's why Dr. Andrews picked it and created it, spawned it into existence, in fact. O'Lafferty's. But yeah, you see the good doctor there sitting at a table, and you sit down and order your food, and there you guys are.
And as soon as I sit down, I'll say, good doctor, I apologize for my lateness. I was accosted by a man that you had spoken to at the order while I was there, and he had insisted that I bring some things to you.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, what did he give you?
He gave me some clippings from a supernatural magazine that he had subscribed to, and was most insistent that you read, especially the one about the flying cow.
All right. So, I'll just, roll my eyes at that.
I've seen some crazy stuff. The flying cow.
Yeah, he's a nice enough fellow, but I didn't get a good impression of him. And he seems to take this whole thing as a wonderful hobby.
Didn't we all, until we ran into something a little too real for our innocence?
Yes, quite true. I wish he would reach that point.
Well,
sooner rather than later.
He seems rather intent on assisting us in any way that he can. Perhaps if we bring him in, he can have that moment.
He reminds me quite a bit of a little brother. Always wanted to tag along.
Yes, quite the same. Although I never had the chance of having a little brother. I always imagined this is what it would be like.
Well, I'll humor him at any rate, since we are members of the same order and brand new. Wouldn't do to alienate a fellow member in longer standing than us. But that's going to have to come later. I have some things to report.
Okay. He did say that he would be waiting for you to come and meet him between 12 and 6 at the order today, and then he had some things that he had to do, and then he was going to come back, and he would be waiting for you until midnight.
You see what I mean?
Yes. No, I got a good assessment of the man as we talked, but
yeah, unfortunately, he has apparently nothing else to do because he's retired, and
absolutely not.
Fortunately for him, apparently his wife has died, so he's left with nothing but leisure.
Well, I gave him a flyer for my Curioso, and that should occupy his attention for a short time.
Yes, hopefully.
So, what is it that you discovered that?
Right, I have made some discovery and had an encounter that made me a bit sad that our friend Mr. Whitmire wasn't with me. I had an encounter with some unsavory gentlemen on the way over here. So, as I said before, my primary suspicion immediately was on the coroner's report. So I went to meet the coroner and talk to him about his report. And I think I came on a bit strong because he revealed to me that he had been paid to falsify that report, leave things out of that report, to file an incomplete report. And when I asked him who had paid him, all he would say was those responsible for prosecuting this case. Because I asked him why he would falsify it. He tried to deny it at first, but then he admitted it. So I started looking into that. I went to the Hall of Records to discover that the will that the victim left, where he bequeathed everything in a handwritten note, not unlike the napkins on this table here, to a man named William Brooks. I don't know who that is. But some other interesting things that caught my attention were that the initial newspaper report didn't know, the reporter didn't seem to know that the victim had a living relative in his nephew who would later be accused. They had to print a correction. And so that made me wonder, maybe Mr. Dooley's killers didn't know either, and maybe the reason someone is pushing so hard for the conviction is because now Charlie stands to inherit his uncle's estate. See, what if there's nothing of the occult in nature to do with this? What if that's just misdirection from the killers? And maybe it's as simple as someone being interested in his property. Maybe this William Brooks, I can't say for sure if the handwriting is Mr. Dooley's. At any rate, I also discovered at Civil Records that a detective removed some document and put it into evidence. A letter, she said, that had been in the file, that Detective Peter Fallon took it as evidence and has not returned it.
Well, thinking back to the original police report, didn't they arrest the nephew on site? I seem to remember that they found him screaming or yelling of some sort. So I'm wondering if they had originally not intended to arrest him.
Right. Yeah, because they couldn't get any words out of him.
Yes.
Which is another element of curiosity for me, because apparently he signed a confession, but nobody has been able to get a word out of this poor boy, and he was put in the Roxbury Sanitarium to determine if he was even fit for trial.
Do any of you guys have the law skill to
I don't
an
believe so.
appreciable degree?
Sounds like we need to get in touch with a small town lawyer.
Call Uncle Vinny.
I was referring to...
I have it at a 5.
I have it at a 5.
Well, go. I mean, if you want to risk the fumble, you can give it a roll. You never know.
I'll risk the fumble.
Oh, you might be able to luck that.
I would if I didn't have such crappy luck.
Oh, come on. It's only 6 luck, Justin.
That's a quarter of all my luck.
All right. Okay. Yeah, none of the little bits and pieces of the way the law works seems to be relevant in your discussion that come to your head. So.
But I will mention that as I was investigating the symbol that had been mentioned on the wall, I came across a mention of a cult of the starry, what is it? Cult of the Starry Wisdom, I believe. Reaching out to Mr. Merriweather, he sent over our good friend Finn McCracken with a package, and apparently members of the SEU had run across something to do with this cult as well. And in one of the original police reports, they mentioned breaking up some sort of cult ritual. Unfortunately, in the police report, much of it was redacted, and my intuition states that there were men of power and prestige that were part of that cult. Now, that very same eye has shown up here, which makes me...
This eye was at the our crime scene as well?
Yes.
That's the eye
Yes.
that was painted. That is interesting.
So I believe that there are members of this cult that are in places of power in order to hide their undertakings. And I'm beginning to suspect that Mr. Dooley was sacrificed for his curiosity with the area that the SEU had been previously investigating, as well as the Church of the Starry Sky.
I see.
Or Church of the Starry, or Cult of the Starry Wisdom.
Maybe he found something that he shouldn't have.
Very possibly. We did manage to get a hold of his diary. I won't tell you how, as far as the details, just to
Not incriminate you.
yes, just to save you any moral outrage. But he had been apparently, what would the word be? Harassed in some ways by teenagers or young men that were hanging around the church.
Right. There was
Where
the
there had
report that he told them to stay away, and then a pig's head was found on his porch.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, whether there is some involvement by cult members or it's entirely mundane, the fact that seems to meet both of those is that somebody is pushing for the police report redactions in the case you're talking about, and for this poor slow child to be prosecuted for this murder.
Yes.
So,
But either way, I believe that we are beginning to tread into dangerous territory.
right.
If these men have the ability to murder at will and frame
Mhm.
innocent bystanders, then
Well, on the way here, I met two men who had been sent to convince me to stop asking questions. Luckily, their wit matched their style of dress and chosen occupation, so I was able to persuade them that my questions were entirely innocent and meant for an article in a medical journal.
very good, very good.
But they did leave me with the words, "Let's not hear your name again." And the message was clear that somebody wants me to stop asking questions.
Yes, and as much as I appreciate the recent induction into the Hermetic Order of, once again, my brain went blank, the Silver
Yeah. Silver
Hermetic Order. Where is it?
Twilight or
Yeah.
something. I don't
The Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight. I have a feeling that part of it was as a way of keeping us close.
Oh, I suppose. I had not thought to be suspicious of the Hermetic Order.
But for now, I'm going to continue my investigations under the guise of seeking out more information about this cult of the Starry Wisdom, and hope that the guise of my curioso being a laughing stock will allow me to go undetected.
I see. So what is there anything that stands out, any symbology besides the eye that stands out about this cult of Starry Wisdom, in case I run across anything?
Unfortunately, there's very little about the cult itself that I've managed to uncover. I had a slight lead on a book up in the Miskatonic University that I was going to follow up on, and I had a message from Dr. Mueller that he was heading up there today. So with any luck, we'll be able to uncover a little bit more. The report from the original breaking up of the cult at the church mentioned robes, and actually I'll pull out that article, and do you want to make that available to him as well?
Oh, yeah, sure. Which one was it?
It was the haunting handout police report.
Oh, I think he might already have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got that.
Well, let's fade on you guys for a moment while you're looking over the various bits of paper that you have, different clues, and maybe you got them arranged on the table there over your around your plates and bowls and whatnot, and we'll jump back over to Whitmire. So you're in this bakery. Patrick Malone is kind of prodding you forward, gestures at the empty seat there in front of Logan Terry, and Logan has a cutting board on it with some fresh rolls and butter and he's working at buttering a piece of bread, and he gestures to you to help yourself if you want.
Yeah, I will. Never pass up on free food.
How are you?
As I'll put on an equally big grin and help myself to the bread and tell him thank you.
You're welcome.
Stuff your cheeks so he doesn't get any more.
Yeah, I knew who you were, Jimmy Whitmire, the moment I saw you, but you're not in any kind of trouble. I can just use a guy like you, if you're willing to put in the work.
Well, I'm always willing to put in the work. So what can I do for you?
Well, first I need to know why you're looking into this murder of Mr. Dooley and who really asked you. Because I know it wasn't Detective Fallon.
So I'll see if I can get away with this or not. Because basically I'm just going to tell him, oh no, I'm done with that. Like I took your advice. I'm off.
Just like that?
Right. Yep, just like that. It was, you made some good points, the other night, and that's it. I'm done. So my schedule is all free to help you out with whatever you need.
Okay. Well, I guess
'Cause I don't know what type of a role or the skill check you want from that though.
Oh no, he'll actually buy it, that part of it to a degree. He's like, okay, that's fine. But you guys, you and those other two fellows, Dr. Andrews and Mr. Monroe, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are some part of some organization, SEU. What's that all about?
Oh, it's like
Barrel laughs.
it's like seance and stuff, right? Spiritualism.
Right. You guys look into ghosts or something?
Yeah, it's just something to pass the time. So you never believe some of the stuff that we see, though.
Jesus, Joseph and Mary. I didn't think you were crazy, too.
I mean, I don't personally believe it, but that Lance guy, he's all about that life. So,
well, I believe you. Now, here's what I'm going to need from you. I need to know what the other members of the Hermetic Order of Silver Twilight are doing, because I don't like people moving without me knowing about it. There's a guy there, Barry Pollard. He's a headmaster at an all-girls school called Girls High School. I didn't just make that up for lack of imagination. It is literally the name of a school in Boston in that time.
You had to say it right as I'm taking a drink. I almost spit all over the mic.
Sometimes truth is more absurd.
you said that was Barry.
Yeah, Barry Pollard, Pollard.
And what high school was it again?
What are you talking about? Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. It's girls' high school. It's an all-girls high school. They called it girls' high school. Yeah, he's the headmaster there. I know you delivered a little moonshine here and there. You know how to get in and out of a place. You know how to get secret information. Maybe you can dig up some dirt on this guy. So I got some leverage. I'm not planning on using it, but you never know when you might need leverage.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. 'Cause, I am always willing to help. Our local police force here. 'Cause, count me in.
Okay. So he says, speaking of leverage,
Got some on you.
Patrick, and you see from over your shoulder, Patrick Malone he's holding an object in a handkerchief, a white handkerchief, and he sets it on the table. And when he removes the handkerchief, you see that it's a gun. Why don't you pick that gun up for me, Mr. Whitmire? All right. Chris, did you want something to do in this scene?
What would I have to do?
So, Finn McCracken was sitting in his foreign Talbot car, and he happened to hear somebody call out for Jimmy Whitmire, and it drew his attention, right? And you saw Jimmy standing there, and he's escorted off by two men. Now, Finn, quite honestly, is here to be at the investigators' beck and call to drive them where they need to go to run little errands for them, but he's also here at Rupert Merriweather's behest to watch over Jimmy Whitmire in particular, because he was aware of the altercation that Whitmire had with Francis Malone when he left Boston. So he's kind of worried, and he wanted somebody to be a guardian angel for Mr. Whitmire. So you've been following him around at nights. The guy apparently doesn't sleep, and you're kind of a little tired and irritable about it. But anyhow, there you are. So you saw him escorted away by two men. You saw him go into a bakery, and we can even say that you've been hearing part of this conversation because the bakery, had two fairly narrow gaps in between the other shops next to it, and you were kind of stalking around, and you heard this talk drifting through an open window where there were like a pie cooling on the I can't even think of the word, but cooling at the open window, right?
On the sill.
So yeah, you hear this. Why don't you pick that up for me, Jimmy?
Well, can you give me any hints how far McCracken would go for something like this? Like, do I believe that he's given us up, or
nothing you've heard so far has given you that indication.
And I know he's kind of a quick talker, I guess.
And while you're not loyal to Whitmire exactly, you are loyal to Merriweather, because he kind of scooped you out of poverty back in the day, and you've just been working for him ever since, and he pays you handsomely.
So how far would McCracken be willing to go? Am I going to be throwing a brick through a window, or am I going to shoot a shotgun through this window and drive off at high speed before they can...
Well, you do have a shotgun.
I do.
I'll leave it up to you. We'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, so I think he'll go over to the car.
Okay.
Turn it on, get it ready to go.
Okay.
And then get the shotgun, most likely from the trunk.
Yeah.
And just out the passenger side, just not aiming at anyone, just put it through the window.
Okay.
Kind of aiming up.
All right. So you're going to get your car, get the shotgun. Or you're moving your car up there and kind of just doing a little drive-by?
I'm just going to...
Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah.
4 shots? I'll put 4 rounds.
Okay. All right, so Whitmire, what are your thoughts as you're looking at this gun laid on the table?
So, yeah, I mean, when
I'll check to see the car.
I'll just look at it and then kind of blank expression, just looking at it. And then I'll look up and try and throw a smile back on my face. And so why would I want to pick that up?
Insurance. Give me a spot hidden roll.
Oh,
jeez,
push it.
Yeah, I guess I could. I mean, it is a pretty high.
Yeah, the push. So the failure on the push would be you're kind of delaying and you're casting about the room for some way, and this is going to irritate Patrick Malone, so he's probably going to cuff you to urge you to just pick the gun up.
Probably get a smack. Yeah. All right.
Nice. So yeah, as you glance around, you just happen to see out that big, nice, beautiful picture window at the bakery. You see that foreign car that you've been trying to get a glimpse of, and you see the driver, who I'll say with that hard, you even pick it out as Finn. He's leaning out the passenger window, or pointing a shotgun out the passenger window. What do you want to do next?
So I was trying to think of something real quick to exclaim, or but I'll just I'll say, "What in the Lord?" and then try and jump to the side.
Yeah, so they're all like, "What?" Yeah, and you try to jump out of the way, and then the shotgun goes off. Let me share his character sheet with you. Actually.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter. We'd have to be going by game mechanics when it comes to McCracken, how much he's able to shoot with that shotgun.
I think he just has a double barrel. But...
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works too. Unless it's a quad shotgun. We all know that when you're hunting evil, you need quad shotgun. Yeah, you definitely
do need a quad shotgun.
Ah.
So you should have Finn McCracken there. You can see in his little picture, he's got a pretty long, bulky coat on.
Okay, there he is.
Wears that little scarf around his neck.
Okay. He's got my hat.
And he's got your hat. Yeah, so he's got a 12-gauge 2-barrel shotgun. So you can actually roll his shotgun. Oh, I meant to set that up. I think maybe I did. But you can roll the shotgun. I have a shotgun damage macro. If I put it in the bar, I don't think it puts it in there for you, does it?
I see shotgun 12 gauge 2B, and then I see 2 more shotgun.
Oh, right. That's back in the day. I would spread it, do it for the
That's what I
range,
figured.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to say within 10 yards here, you're within short range of the building for sure. You're not even rolling to hit. We're just going to see if you get lucky
And
actually
hit
wing
someone,
somebody
you know.
inside there.
All right.
Or which way do you want it to go? Are you just firing for the crash and the noise and the scare and not hurt anybody?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of aiming for, is more to break this up. And based on what you kind of told me of Monroe as, or not Monroe, but Whitmire as McCracken,
Yeah.
a chance for him to kind of,
Bolt.
yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I just want to roll to make sure we don't fumble.
Okay. So the first one?
Yep.
Ooh, that's close.
Not a fumble.
Okay. And do you want the second barrel?
Yeah, might as well.
Do you want the penalty on the first one?
Oh, yeah. I guess you do have penalties. Yeah. Go ahead and roll
Say
them.
that's pretty.
Well, you're point blank, so I'm going to say they cancel each other out.
It's the same right there. Okay. And then second one's a success. So.
All right, yeah. So it has the intended effect with the second shot for sure, where you hit that picture window and it shatters so beautifully. I mean, you hit it in the first one too, but that second one just seems to have so much more as that buckshot just chews stuff up in there.
Yeah, and I'm figuring, not that it's probably really started up yet. I don't know about like Valentine's Day massacre type stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a thing.
Right.
But
It's heating up. Yeah, it's starting to heat up.
so
yeah.
that's what he's kind of figuring hoping for. Yeah, so he's gonna shoot twice and then just book it.
All right, this gives you an opportunity to bolt Whitmire if you should take it, unless you want to do something else.
Yes. No, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right, so I'm going to give you a Constitution roll with a bonus die. So we're establishing a possible chase here. How'd you do?
Nice. Oh, don't forget your bonus die. Ooh, nice.
That makes it hard, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
And what is your movement rate? It's in your character sheet near the characteristics.
where?
All mine are NPC, so they're laid out a little bit different. Can anybody find it on theirs and help point it out to them? I want to say it's in your combat tab.
8 is my movement rate.
So with getting a success, your movement rate stays that way. And the guy, one of the thugs that was with Patrick, is going to try to grab at you and hoof it after you, whichever way you go, but he was just too slow. So basically, you get away from the chase before it can ever get off the ground, and you're out into the streets or wherever you want to go. What's your next move?
Yeah, I mean, so I know that my car was still running, so I'm going to book it that way and jump in and try and take off.
Okay. So yeah, that's easy enough. You can get to your car. I should make you do a luck roll to see if you have mechanical problems in your car or something, but we won't do that. I'd do it if someone was hot on your hill for sure. But anyhow, yeah, you get to your car, and what would Finn do next after that?
He'd probably make sure he's not being followed, that there's nothing on hot pursuit, and then probably have to switch cars is probably what he'd figure he'd do. So he'd go back to
Ditch the
Merriweather.
Talbot. Yeah.
Yeah, back to Merriweather, get a different car, something that is less conspicuous probably.
Okay. Yeah, so he can head off to do that. You know, Merriweather kept an apartment there, although he often professed to you that he detested Boston and only came here for, business and interest. But he did keep a pretty nice apartment, including an actual almost like motor pool area, right, where he kept some of his cars, because it was a passion of Merriweather's was cars. That's why he has the Talbot that you're currently driving. And there you can go find something else.
Yeah, and then he would try to get back on Whitmire's tail eventually.
Well, we will pop back over to Andrews and Monroe as they're studied all the relevant papers.
So, my good Dr. Andrews, what do you think? What should our next move be?
Well, it's clear that if we continue the investigation, we can expect future visits from the gentleman I encountered or worse. So might be smarter to investigate together when we can. And we need to let the other two know that there's a possible danger.
I'm trying to remember, did Whitmire mention that he was being followed when he met me at...
I had told you to be careful
me.
because I'd seen this vehicle a few different times.
Okay. So yeah, I'll mention Whitmire. That Whitmire is probably already aware that this investigation is a dangerous one. That he believes that we're also being followed. But I'll kind of stroke my chin and say, we could really use a close friend that has an in with the Hermetic Order. Perhaps paying a little bit of attention to the attention-starved Dr. Riggs would be a good idea.
Or Edward Call.
Dr. Call.
Or Dr. Edward Call.
Riggs is the anarchist conspiracy theorist, columnist. That was a lot of ists.
Riggs.
Too old for this.
I'll say he seems most excited to help us in any way, shape, form he can, as long as it pertains to his interests, and perhaps we could bring him in to see what else he knows.
Oh no, you're gonna get Call killed by sending him out to ask the question.
Oh yep. Better him than me.
I can't help but picture Mel Gibson writing those articles now with like that crazy blue eyes.
Well, that's what I was trying to go for, is his conspiracy theory version of that.
Conspiracy, yeah. Except now I'm seeing Riggs.
Right. Well, to be fair, Gibson is one of those actors there's always that element in all of his characters.
Yeah. So I picture him like naked at a typewriter with like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and his hair all wild.
Here I am, an eternal being.
It fits so much more than I want it to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that was a good interjection.
Okay. Yeah, we could try it. Maybe he can help.
We can get this poor unfortunate soul either thrown in a loony bin or murdered.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Monroe, he's probably at your Curioso right now.
Yeah. Yeah, if you'd like, we can go pay him a visit. I sent him to my museum to get a personal tour, and I'm sure that if we throw in, myself being the person to lead that tour, then you would gain some standing with him.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's check in with Johan here momentarily as he's at the train station in the middle of nowhere.
So I'm guessing this is nighttime?
Yeah, like it's not too long after you were dropped off there, basically. But so you have a train station, and there are little vendors and stuff that's set up there during its hours of operation. And it occurs to you watching one guy break down this stand in which he was selling, little pastries and meat pies and that sort of thing, like a medieval village. Yeah, he's breaking it down and he's loading it into the back of a Ford pickup, basically, right? But yeah, you see that. And in fact, there is actually something arresting about the pickup when you're looking at it. Like all these weird terms pop to your head when you look at the tires. You're like they're new. These nice new tires on there. They almost glisten, like with oil. Like they look like a black licorice almost, right? And the paint job is this most delectable, like cherry wood finish.
So that SOB infected my vernacular with.
And but yeah, anyhow, you've never been, at least I don't think in reading any of your background, that you're not a car person precisely, but all of the materials that this vehicle are constructed with, yeah, you just have all these adjectives spring to mind. So
Well, I guess first things first is to probably try to find a place to sleep for the night, right?
Oh, okay.
So I guess I'll go up to him if his truck is the one that seems to be piquing my interest. Excuse me. No, it's like, excuse me, sir. My accent's going, so we'll just have to go with it.
It's all right.
I was wondering if you could point me in the direction of inn or hotel for the night.
Yeah. You wanna head down the road there? So and he gives you some instructions. But he says, well, I'm actually heading that way myself. I'll give you a ride.
Oh. I would be most thankful for that. I perhaps could even compensate you monetarily.
Oh, no, that won't be necessary. And the town he had given you directions to, or said where he was going, is called Salisbury, right?
Okay.
So
What time would I have to be back here to catch the morning train?
So you bought the first one out, which
Okay.
was scheduled to depart at 7 a.m. So
All right. So I just need to keep that in mind for
Yeah.
travel time.
yeah, he says it'll only take us 30 minutes to get there, and you arrive shortly in the Salisbury, and he directs you to
For the ride, I'll regale him with native burial rituals to America.
Okay.
Native American burial rituals.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's definitely interested to lend an ear. You know, there's sort of a romanticization of Native Americans that he buys into.
that they must bury their own. Correct.
What's that? Oh.
I'm making a Pet Cemetery joke.
Oh, gotcha.
That they got to bury their own because he sounds like the groundskeeper.
Man's heart's stonier. So, but yeah, he listens with rapt attention, and he points you to a boarding house in Salisbury where the lady there will put you up. But you have this same sort of phenomenon, even beyond his vehicle by the time you arrive in Salisbury, where things just have this weird quality to you. They almost alert you to the fact that you haven't eaten anything since you got off the train. You know, that your stomach starts rumbling. Like when you get into the boarding house, all the periodicals that are delivered here are kind of stacked out on the front desk that the proprietress keeps. So you see, the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, you even see like the New York Times. You see the Arkham Argus, which has the most like delectable paper that they use. It's like a cream colored paper, and you just kind of want to reach out and touch it when you see it, And I would say you even realize that this is kind of like an outside phenomenon, this strange compulsion to look at things and want to touch them, like everything just seems vibrant and tasty, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
But anyhow, it's easy. It's within your credit rating to afford room and board here until the morning.
Well, I require a succulent bed, feathers that one could just burrow into and lose themselves in the, I don't know what the heck. You get the idea. I'm trying to match you here. I can't do it.
Yeah, the proprietress does her best to match your odd descriptions for what you want in your room, and she succeeds when you get in there. The quilt looks like a tender fabric that you just pull apart and see all the threads come apart, like a good, well-cooked piece of meat. And your pillow looks like a dollop of cream just slowly melting away there on a hot cup of coffee.
Oh, man. How much of this room am I going to have to eat? That's what that roll was earlier, wasn't it?
I have to play and find out. But yeah, I think we'll close it there on Johan for the night.
Yeah, so I'll kind of be like not just smoking my pipe, but kind of gnawing on the stem.
Okay.
Like it was some sort of sweet candy or licorice, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too, that the flavors within your tobacco are just. You've never been one for like chewing the tobacco, as far as I know, right? You're always the smoker type, but just the flavor, you're getting so much more of the flavors that are in. Are you like an English shag type? So you get, what is that, like burley and all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah, so you get all these different flavors, and I know from my days smoking that sometimes smoke would just taste like meats, like different food that you were craving or something like that. Yeah, so that's like really pumped up. But yeah.
If ever I encounter that man again.
But I think we'll do one more for your nightly one. So we need one more power roll.
Ah, dang it. Way I've been rolling, this ain't good. Son of a.
What is going on today?
I got all my good rolls with Kraken.
Well, it's not a fumble. Okay. So again, you have a couple of strange, nightmarish dreams. This one, by the time you wake, the dream involving the strange little idol that you have, that statuette, you can actually remember it when you wake. And basically, from your perspective in the dream, you're just sort of standing there in a flattish looking terrain, although you see a windmill before a mound or maybe a low hill. It almost looks unnatural, not like in spooky unnatural, but like men put the hill there, like a mount, maybe a burial mound even. But there's a windmill before it, and both these things are like stark against like a slate gray sky in the background. The clouds aren't moving in fast striations or anything like that. It makes them stand out in sharp relief. You know, while everything in it is mundane, like all the individual details, all of it together kind of fills you with this terrible dread, but at the same time, a strange desire to go to wherever the image in this dream is. But you could make a navigation roll for me from Johan.
Johan and navigation.
He once got lost in his own library.
Quite frequently. Natural world, navigation. Okay. I was going to say, if I get that.
Okay, so yeah, you don't know. I mean, you could say that looks like somewhere in the United States. You would say more west, but your version of American geography is what you've seen, you know, in films or in pictures. And usually they have a tendency to highlight the iconic parts of the United States. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look like any one of those, although it does have that vague sense of being somewhere west. Your second dream is, again, you're in the Widner Library, and it picks up like right as you realize that this guy's shadow being cast in the wall is all wrong, and you're transfixed by the elongated arms and the snouted head, and it has an odd shape. It's almost triangular, the shape of the head and the shadow. And but anyhow, the man draws your attention back to him, and he says, "Well, before I depart, what exactly were you looking into down here?"
Oh man, what was it? Was it the Liber Ivanus again, or was it the?
I think at that time you and him were looking into ritualistic killings and the eye symbol.
Well, ritualistic killings and odd eye symbol. They'll kind of sketch it in the air, you know. It's a center eye with perhaps a Y-type shapes arranged in a pyramid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's like, that is interesting. Are you doing this on somebody else's behest or just for pure academic interest?
Well, yeah, a little bit of column A and column B. Of course, I've gone to many lengths to procure various histories and symbols and knowledges, sometimes at great cost. But always the academic pursuit must go forward.
I understand. Don't you find the weight of these books to be devilishly delicious? And then he starts sort of forking his finger at you, and we'll close the scene on Johan there. All right. So
all these cliffhangers are killing me.
So back at the, you guys depart O'Lafferty's Cafe on your way back to the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight. Is that correct?
We're going to...
right, your
Lance's
Curioso.
Museum.
Yeah, the New England Museum of the Occult.
All right. Did you have an idea in your mind of where that's located, or not necessarily where it's located, but what it looks like in your head?
Well, I kind of imagine that like out front it would have the big, bold gold letters, to try and draw people in.
Maybe almost like that Old West snake oil salesman type lettering or something,
Kind of like that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it's, it doesn't get a ton of traffic just because the subject matter, reaches such a small cross-section of the normal population. Although the Hall of Peruvian artifacts, Incan artifacts and pre-Incan artifacts has attracted a lot of attention. You may even proudly display clippings from, prominent newspapers that wrote about it.
Yeah, there'll be clippings, there'll be any kind of photographs or anything like that.
And anyhow, so you guys are there, and as it turns out, Dr. Edward Call is your only patron at the moment, and he's sort of bending over, inspecting some statuette that you have on a pedestal by itself, or maybe there was something you got specifically that you'd feature more prominently, but I don't think we detailed individual artifacts. Or I think you had a like a sun god.
Yeah, there. Aside from the Peruvian ones, the things that would be little occult figurines or pictures or things like that from the New England area, and anything that like really stands out would be prominently featured.
Well, he has the air of a man who may not be entirely interested in what he's looking at, but he's trying to take as much time as possible.
Okay.
With each of your displays, and he's reading any provided information, any background information on where it was obtained, or history bits that you include on it, that sort of thing. But he's is somewhat absorbed, so he doesn't notice your arrival as you guys come in.
Yeah, and so when I see him there, I'll say, "Good Dr. Call. I must say that, I really felt bad about not being able to invite you to our luncheon. So as soon as we were able to, we came over here to meet you. I wanted to make sure that there were no hard feelings, and if possible, give you a personalized tour of my museum."
Oh, this is a surprise, a pleasant one to be sure.
Well, as you know, we have recently joined the order, and we are excited to, make our mark on the membership.
Well, I'm excited to have you. We need people with your intellect and your investigative prowess as part of our order.
Thank you, sir. You flatter me.
I tell you, I've been bored to death by talk of business from accountants or lawyers, and it's all very dry.
Well, some worship gods, others worship the almighty dollar, and that's just the way of the world.
So have we chosen a case? Is the game afoot?
We're still beginning to look into various things that might pique our interest, but there are several things.
Well, I dare say that I am at your disposal at any moment. You can telegram me even at the latest hour if you desire.
Well, I appreciate that a great deal, Dr. Call. It's good to see you again.
Do you know anything about Peruvian bloodletting ritual?
But yeah, I'll take a few moments and, give him a tour and try and, speak up the lesser artifacts and, make the real ones look, as grand as they can.
Okay. So when the tour reaches its conclusion, and to Dr. Call's credit, while he does ask a lot of odd questions, he also asks pretty pointed questions. You can tell he does have a curious mind, but it's also rather foolish. So, but anyhow, you give him the tour, and you're at the end of that, and he's like, "Well, what are you gentlemen going to do for the rest of the day? I have very few appointments that I must attend to."
Well, perhaps you could help me a little bit in a newspaper clipping that I came across, and I'll show him the newspaper clipping of the Dooley murder.
Okay.
There are 3 of them, right? So the first one was the one that mentioned that he was killed on All Saints Eve, and it was a grisly satanic ritual. And I'll say these kinds of clippings stand out to me. Of course, with things being the occult, All Saints Eve is, as you well know, is sometimes a point of convergence for the satanic rituals and many of the occult traditions. And so I'm trying to investigate exactly what kind of satanic ritual this is, and perhaps you'd be able to help me in that matter.
Okay.
And of course, if we can get any pictures or artifacts from such a thing, then they would make grand exhibits in my museum, especially with it happening right here in Boston itself, drawing the locals into something that's relevant to their own lives.
Yeah, so he looks through the clippings after you hand him over, and he reads them, and he's like, "Well, it's quite clear that whoever did this is a depraved individual."
Yes, many of the people that are part of these cults, which I must tell you, do still exist, and people do still worship in them. Many of them are fairly depraved, but they believe that they're doing what they should be doing as far as their beliefs are.
Yes, probably seeking power if it's truly a satanic murder.
In some times, yes, seeking power. Other times, simply doing what they're told.
Dr. Call, if you don't mind, would you take another look at that article and tell me if anything at all jumps out at you about that particular article as a man of science?
Well, let's see here. Well, as a doctor, I should indeed find it odd that the man would be torn apart only by his nephew, not unless the nephew were extraordinarily strong, like a circus freak strong. Maybe not
Yes.
even then.
Certainly not a 12-year-old or 14-year-old boy.
Well, the human body is frail. It is also quite resilient in a lot of different ways, I should think. I have heard it said that oftentimes perpetrators of such horrible acts return to the scene of the crime. Have you went to look at Mr. Dooley's house or anything? Have you seen anything odd?
No, I'm afraid that I've just recently stumbled across this article, and it piqued my interest from an occult standing, and it piqued Dr. Andrews' interest as far as the scientific and medical aspects of the case.
Yes, I would say if it indeed is occult or satanic, there would have to be trappings associated to it, Well, I guess I don't really know what these Satanists do, but pentagrams, symbols.
Yes, there usually are some sort of symbols, or in my experience, they have certain other iconography that's also involved. Chalices and rods and swords and things of those natures.
I do also notice that the officer Nathan Noya originally described it like a bear attack, which has somewhat of a different connotation than a satanic ritual, as it mentions later in the same article.
Very true, very true.
Yes, that's especially interesting when you consider that when we looked deeper and found the coroner's report, there was no evidence of tools being used in the dismemberment. And I haven't personally seen many cases of bear attacks, but their claws are quite destructive.
Well, it is quite a puzzle. I can't point you in any particular direction other than what I think would be the obvious, to see the crime scene itself, to speak to the nephew if you could. I'm at your disposal for any of that. If you should want me to make or work with my contacts at the Roxbury Sanatorium, I know a few psychoanalysts there that I've worked with in my personal practice in the past.
That would actually be most welcome. As I said, we're only beginning to burgeon on the details of this case, and any help that you may provide us would be most welcome. If you perhaps know any contacts at the Hermetic Order that may be able to get us access to, I don't know, perhaps some of the artifacts or crime scene photographs or any of those kinds of things, they would go far in helping us in what we can glean from the information.
Well, I'll write down the name of the doctor I know at Roxbury, which was Lewis Powell, Dr. Lewis Powell. He's a psychoanalyst that works there. And he says, well, I'm fairly new at the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight as well, but that lawyer, James Clark, is quite a good fellow. And it seems to me that a lawyer would be helpful in untangling some of this.
Yes, we'll definitely need to speak with him.
I assume this poor boy probably just has a public defender to rely on.
Yes, unfortunately. And I mean to find out who that is, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. But perhaps Mr. Clark will have contacts.
Yeah, he may even know about the case in question. He does seem well apprised of. He's a criminal defense lawyer, as I understand it. Works for Christian and Antonello law firm.
What was his first name?
James.
Yeah.
Clark. The other thing, from what I understand of the law, here it says where the nephew was charged. It's possible that the plea was entered by the judge on his behalf.
Right. But
what were the particulars?
I wouldn't understand.
Do you understand the evidence that was brought against him? The article doesn't mention.
No, I don't. And I know that they say he signed a confession, which I find to be highly unlikely since
why no guilty plea if a confession were signed?
That's a good point.
Yes, I would think by the looks of this, if he was unable or unwilling to enter his plea, so the judge entered not guilty on his behalf, which I understand is standard if somebody is incompetent in some way, and they sent him off to Roxbury Sanitarium to be evaluated. So those things can take a lot longer than the judge thinks if he hopes to make that September 3rd trial date.
My good man, you seem to have stumbled on something. I was in this purely for academic research, and Dr. Andrews out of pure curiosity for the specifics, but you may seem to have stumbled on the fact that by investigating this, we may be able to get an innocent young man off of a crime that he did not commit.
Have I? Oh, that's quite right. That would be to the good, I should think.
Yes, you're not only a scholar, but a philanthropist as well. I commend you.
No, I'm not. I'm not all those things.
Oh, don't be modest, sir. I mean, just in a few moments, you've uncovered something that we ourselves had not even considered.
Well, I'm sure it would have come to you in time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence.
So what's next then?
Well, let's see here. I have an appointment to meet Dr. Mueller up in Arkham Asylum, or not Arkham Asylum, Arkham University. It's basically an asylum.
He's in there with Joker and
Yeah.
everybody else.
But perhaps you could follow up on some of these leads, and when I get back, should be no more than a day or so, we could meet and discuss some of the things that you found, and I can discuss some of the things I found about the occult side of this.
I will do that. I was planning to head home for a short while, but I can never stand to be there too long. The ghost of my recently deceased wife haunts the place. I don't mean literally, of course.
Well, we all perceive the world as it comes to us.
Yes, her spirit is in the little knickknacks she filled our home with.
Yes.
I've been meaning to thin them out a bit, but it's quite a task. But I think I should head over to the lodge hall right away and see maybe if Mr. Clark is there.
Sounds like a brilliant idea, sir. Mr. Andrews, would you like to accompany us? We could have a brief conversation.
Yes.
Since I don't believe I can find a train to reach Arkham this evening. I'll be leaving first thing in the morning.
All right, so we'll fade with you guys and we'll check in real quick with Whitmire, see where he was going to speed away to, what his next move was. Yeah, so what was your next move after you fled the bakery in your car?
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to try and get messages out to the other 3 members that are investigating this.
Okay.
With a warning about Logan Terry, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on it in that message. Just that be careful of him, and he's not to be trusted. And then, if I'm able to, I'd like to try and use some contacts to set up travel arrangements. Like I'm going to be traveling out of the city and possibly country again.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that will throw them off my trail.
So make it look like you're heading a direction that you're not actually heading. So let's I kept meaning to change your crafty job skill, basically your occupation skill, to fast talk, because I didn't realize it was your best one. So we can kind of use this whole ruse. We can use that skill as a stand-in for this whole ruse of setting up a departure elsewhere. Or you could alternatively just spend money and actually, purchase, try to leave some paper trail that puts you out there and just not board anything.
I'm just trying to think of how easy that would be to find out for him. How much would it cost?
You'd probably
to
spend. You probably have to deduct at least $30 from your cash pool.
Okay. So what I'll do is this closest bus station, right? And then get a ticket out of town, right? And then I'll also put out through more underground or criminal contact for somebody to pick me up when I get there to take me to another place.
Okay.
Right? As someone trustworthy enough to say that they picked somebody up, right? Even though they didn't.
Yeah, we'll
How does that
yeah,
sound?
it sounds good. We'll just change the bus station or the bus to a train since they don't quite have
Yeah,
the
there you
buses running at this time. And then for your contact roll, we'll just use your fast talk skill to establish one to wherever the train would end to set that up. You could have it to go somewhere up north towards New York or whatever. Bypassage there.
So I figure, as I figure like New York, and then find somebody that can say that they picked me up in New York and took me like up into Rhode Island or something.
Yeah, so with you having
was heading out towards Canada or something.
with you having established a small crew there in New York, you can actually make that fast talk with a bonus roll, and it only needs a regular success.
Okay. How do I do the? Oh, it automatically does the bonus.
Just roll it once, and then
option.
you hit the bonus penalty. So 49 versus 75. All right, so you're putting that all into motion, which takes a few hours, and you've sent a telegram off to warn Dr. Andrews and Mr. Monroe about Logan Terry's secret intentions. And that telegram may arrive in a timely manner, but that's dependent on Mr. Monroe's luck roll.
Oh, dear God. I'm glad I didn't spend that 6. All right, here we go. Crossing fingers. Oh, nope.
Not quite. So yeah, as the two doctors and Mr. Monroe depart the Curioso, they narrowly miss the incoming telegram from Mr. Whitmire. Meanwhile, Finn was trying to track you down again, Mr. Whitmire. So what I'm going to need from Finn is he goes and he grabs that new car, and now you're trying to figure out what it is that Mr. Whitmire would do next. So let's get a psychology roll from you, and you have to beat the regular success that Mr. Whitmire got with his fast talk.
All right, here we go. That son of a bitch. Just get... So yeah, extreme success.
That's pretty impressive.
So yeah, you
It's his job, basically, right? So
well, you're used to this, your whole experience, since you can't talk, as usually you just have time to sit there and think because nobody's waiting for you to key in with something to say, nor can you edge into a conversation that way, as you just experienced recently with Mr. Monroe at his apartments while you were just trying to drop off some documents. And it's only by luck that Whitmire showed up there, which you were able to get on his tail again. But in any case, you just sort of sit there, like in the car, the new car that you're going to go drive around.
what would I do?
Right, yeah. And you exactly come up with Mr. Whitmire's plan. So
Yeah, I think I got too much invested here, so I'm going to throw a lead out there that is false
yeah.
and keep working.
So if you want to, I don't know what you playing Finn will do at this point, since you're not entirely sure if you were made with your distraction to allow him to escape. So are you just going to stay on his tail?
Yeah, whether I'm made or not, I don't think really matters. I was just there to keep an eye on
Be the guardian
Whitmire.
angel?
Yeah, perhaps changing the car will throw him off if I was made. If not, just stick more to the shadows.
All right. So with Whitmire making the arrangements, we will close on the scene of him paying for that train ticket to New York, and he's walking away out of the train station to get back into his car. And this time, a few cars down as he pulls into traffic, you see another car. This one much easier to blend into Boston traffic. It's just a current, Model A Ford, I believe. And behind the wheel is Finn McCracken, the guardian angel of Mr. James Whitmire. And that's where we'll close the session for today. Thanks for playing, guys.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Travis.
I don't know if we talked about it while you were here, John, but we're taking our holiday break for the next couple of weeks. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, I think it'll be January 9th. This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.